Right, so Keir Starmer has admitted that he is a Tory. It's probably the first honest thing he's said since becoming leader. He's actually gone there and said it. The papers are printing it. Gone are the socialist pledges. Gone is any hope of electoral reform. Gone is any hope of renationalisation of public services. Gone is any prospect of things changing. The final gauntlet has been thrown down to anyone on the left remaining in the Labour Party, and that includes the Socialist campaign group of Labour MPs, as to why you're still a member of a party led by a man who has said he wants to change the party's DNA and to be Tony Blair on steroids. It all came from a speech he gave to Progressive Labour, the right-wing red Tories of the Labour Party, so neither Progressive nor Labour. His Labour is now the party of conservative values, apparently. For the few, not the many, then. For the wealthy donors, not the ordinary worker. For making our lives harder and more impoverished. For overseeing continued privatisation, including in healthcare. Those private healthcare donations you accepted not for nothing, after all, and never any sign of renationalisation or nationalisation of any sort. Killed off, stone dead, despite that being what the majority of the actual public want in poll after poll after poll, because conservatism isn't about serving the public. It's never about the needs of the country. It is always about the needs of the party, the needs of those who fund the party, clearly no longer intended to be the trade unions, and any trade union looking to continue funding a party that calls itself conservative in any way, shape, form or context is not one I want my dues going towards by one iota, not one penny more. Starmer's argument is that the blue Tories have failed, but where they have screwed up through incompetence and infighting, he will carry the Tory banner under his party banner, the red Tory banner, because Labour is functionally dead with this dishonest Brill-cream shite-hog in charge. It's funny, I've done another video today regarding the Tory knives being out for Rishi Sunak due to his failure to deliver on his Conservative promises. Yet you could almost guarantee there won't be a whimper from Starmer's MPs over what he's doing here, which is so much worse. Such an absolute betrayal of everyone who has anything to do with the party, every member, everything the party stands for. Most of Starmer's MPs will support this, which shows just how not Labour most of them really are. Puts another context on the sabotage under the previous leader and the thinking behind that. The preference of a Tory government led by Boris Johnson and before that Theresa May than a socialist party being led, for once, by an actual socialist. This was always the end game, and Starmer is finally emboldened enough to come clean about it. Finally, he has said something honest, something I genuinely can believe of him. People have surmised for years that Starmer is a Tory plant, abstaining on horrendous policy, demanding the Tories go harder and faster, be more beastly in effect, the message he sent them. Like Tony Blair on steroids is a phrase Starmer is connecting to Clause 4, the clause Blair ditched which tied Labour to common ownership. Renationalisation by a Labour government, putting things back in our control, is completely dead. Look at our waterways, full of shit. That's caused by privatised water companies. He won't now reverse that. Energy companies, privatised, scalping us to within an inch of our lives. He won't reverse that. If anything, going clause 4 on steroids may well mean a continuation of even more privatisation. Truly a new Conservative party, rather than being opposed to them at all. Thatcher has won. She's got her victory. Labour is now defunct. We don't have a Labour Party anymore. Just two different groups of Tories, different being doing a lot of heavy lifting, taking turns trapped as we are by an electoral system that will only ever put one or the other of them into power. Vote Labour to get the Tories out. Well, that mantra is now completely dead, isn't it? If you oppose conservatism, you literally cannot vote for Labour. Starmer's claims, because of the failures of this Conservative government, that they no longer have a right to claim to be Conservatives, as if that is a title to aspire to. The word literally means keeping things as they are. We can't afford to have things not changing anymore. Naturally, Starmer contradicts himself here by saying things have to change. But when he's taking everything that needs to change off the table, how is he going to run things any differently? What's going to be different? Things can't be worse than they are now. Some of you might say, still trying to defend him, but why is least worst always good enough for you? Because it isn't for me. Why is tinkering around the edges of politics the best we can hope for? I don't believe that's the case. Why is this the only way we're allowed to go? And on what planet can that be allowed to continue to call itself a democracy? Why is seizing the mantle of Conservative such a prize to this man? The mantle of labour is one of the wealth of the country being shared more equally, has generated our rights and conditions at work, our human rights, our NHS, social security, protecting our countryside and ecology instead of seeing it exploited and ruined. A movement born out of the trade union movement of ordinary people to give more ordinary people lives a fairer, more prosperous future instead of it being hoarded all at the top. Ensuring none of us get overcharged by profiteers of infrastructure services we own, run for our benefit instead of lining shareholders' pockets, and delivering a worse service as privatisation always has and we're seeing all around us. The con it is obvious to us all now that it is. That is conservatism. That is what they are choosing to conserve. Why would you wed yourself to that? Why do you think that makes you electable? Why do you think that's what people want? When blatantly, clearly, poll after poll shows it isn't. Why would you want to unless that is what you actually believe in, unless that is what you are? Starmer says he doesn't care if people call him a conservative. He should. I'd take it as an insult. He still thinks he's on his way to power no matter what he says and does now. A Labour majority whilst he remains leader will clearly now be an absolute nightmare. He has accused the Tories of patronising contempt to the British public, but that is exactly what he has done too. For years, people like myself have been called Tory enablers for calling this man out. If you're voting Labour, you're now voting Conservative. So what does that make you then? Has he managed to change your DNA from wanting change to wanting to be a Tory? Everything this man has ever said he stood for, everything he stood for Labour leader on, was a lie. Remember, he stood on a platform for making the moral case for socialism, lying through his teeth as he did so. But on this I do believe him on, because it shows exactly why he had to lie about everything else up till now to get to where he has. A liar, a cheat, a Tory. Keir Starmer, folks. The warning signs for this were out a few days ago when Shadow Foreign Secretary David Lammy dropped the ball on his LBC show last weekend. Red Toryism on show there as it was. You can take a look at this video to get the gist of things there ahead of what's happened now. Cheers, folks.